Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Chaos Mind, where we talk about all the deep and meaningful stuff that goes on inside of the grey matter that was in between our ears. Yesterday I was not on here. Actually, the last couple of days I have not been on to do a live. I have had insane headaches, body cramps. Let's just say that I've been feeling a little bit under the weather. My energy has been extremely drained and I've been doing a lot of sleeping. So I wanted to bring something to you guys that I have recently rediscovered literally in the last 24 hours. I completely forgot that it happened. An episode of I Told You So. Alright? Pre-packaged and ready to absorb. Now, for those that don't know, and you probably don't know, I am an avid gamer. Once upon a time, I spent all of my spare time actually pouring money into a subscription for a game that I would spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours playing, get really mad at my parents for disconnecting the internet when a phone call came in, yes, back in the days of dial-up speed, because I was playing World of Warcraft. Now, one of my favorite game critics at the time, and still to this day, because he makes some incredibly valid points in his game critiquing, is Yahtzee Crowshaw, also known as The Escapist. Works for a magazine, online platform, has his own merchandise, he's also an author. Alright, I wanted to bring one of these videos to your attention, so I'm just going to go like this, and we're going to click on here. This is his World of Warcraft The Corrupted Blood incident. Now, I was playing World of Warcraft back in, September of 2005, and this was a rather interesting stage in Worldcraft history. So what I'm going to do is I want to play you what happened there and what they went through.
World of Warcraft had this thing where they named servers from a 19th century book of baby names for very out-of-touch upper-middle-class people, and spawned in their preferred hub city to bask in the glow of patch 170. Then all of a sudden, one of them coughed. Then coughed again. Then their health bar turned inside out and all their blood exploded. Soon, every player in the near vicinity was turning into an Ebola fountain as the unkillable NPCs smilingly plied their trade awash in infected phlegm, ensuring that not even constant mass player genocide could stop the breakout. What the fuck was going on? An unannounced world event? The fanboys began dutifully praising Blizzard's innovative spirit and chiding the complainers for not getting it as they died in helpless agony over and over again. And meanwhile, the Blizzard offices became ankle deep in anxious urine trying to figure out why this was happening. The answer, it turned out, lay in a newly introduced raid instance called Zul'Gurub, which you'll note is an anagram of buggers up if you spell it completely wrong. The infection was in fact a debuff called Corrupted Blood, intended to spread from player to player, but not intended to exist outside of Zul'Gurub's final boss fight with Hakar the Soul Flayer. Yeah, everything in World of Warcraft was named like that. You have to remember, Fortnite players, that this was before your generation invented irony. The disease was supposed to go away after the subject died or killed Hakar the Bull Fondler, but like an irresponsible holidaymaker, Blizzard forgot about the fucking pets. Players whose pets contracted corrupted blood during the boss fight would despawn the pets before they died, and said pets would be preserved in stasis, infection and all, until the next time they were let out to go plop-plops in the overworld. But knowing where it came from didn't help much once it was out there, and turning all the major population centers into oceans of skeletal corpses on a scale rarely seen outside fashion model conventions, Blizzard suggested that players observe quarantine protocols, but not enough people took them seriously, presumably because they had 9 panther clitorises for a quest giver in Ironforge, and no public health order from the actual all-knowing gods of the universe was getting between them and their slightly better pair of adventuring trousers, god damn it. But when it became clear that the plague wasn't stopping anytime soon, and it began spreading to other servers, and players were faced with the hideous prospect of having to log off for a while, and perhaps even leave the house, god forbid, the really interesting behaviour started. Players started channeling their inner white suburbanite and fled the cities for the relative peace of the countryside. With no apparent organisation, cordons were formed to advise others away. Healers coordinated to keep people alive. Higher level players with enough health to ride out the infection voluntarily went into the cities to see if they could get a handle on things. All of which might give one optimism for humanity, were it not for 2 things. 1, it was in World of fucking Warcraft, and 2, it was ultimately as much use as bubblegum toilet paper because of all the other players. On the one hand, there were the rubberneckers, people logging in who wanted to see all this interesting carnage they'd heard about, because this was only 4 years since the 9/11 attacks, and there'd been nothing since then that had made for quite as good television. And then there were the trolls, the griefers, and oh boy, this was like all their snow days had come at once, and they were going to do everything they could to keep it going. Some of them started hiding out in the mountains, continually reinfecting each other, so at the first sign of the infection clearing up somewhere, they could run down and lick all the doorknobs. So between them and the tourists, it was clear that the plague was never going to get a chance to clear up. And so Blizzard had no option but to contact one of the figureheads of the quarantine effort and have him construct a giant wooden boat, in which he was directed to place 2 of every monster, so that they could send a rainstorm for 40 days and 40 nights. Now I'm fucking with you, they just hard reset the servers. Bit anticlimactic, really. But Blizzard were inspired by this debacle, and in 2008 orchestrated a deliberate, not quite as contagious global plague of zombie virus to promote the Wrath of the Lich King expansion, whereupon the player base agreed in one voice that global plague events are actually kinda lame. Bit anticlimactic, really. If you enlightened viewers in the modern age of less blurry screenshots are seeing some eerie parallels between the Corrupted Blood incident and certain real-life current events, you aren't alone. In fact, academics took an interest in the incident for what it might tell us about real-life pandemics, particularly the sociological effects. But others argued that it taking place in a video game with zero real-life consequences limited the usefulness of the data. After all, it's not like people in the real world would just casually blow off an official quarantine order when there's honest-to-goodness life and death on the line. Dear me, no! And as for the people who'd get the infection and try to pass it to others deliberately, why, that would require nothing less than a fundamental breakdown of education and governance. Surely people understand that there are no hard resets in real life, unless you count tactical nuclear strikes. Yes, I suppose this episode is more of a let's all laugh at a humanity that never learns anything tee-hee-hee, but for me, it's nice to see something confirmed that I could have told these academics at any time. That if they want a case study for the most irrational behaviour of which human beings are capable, then a good place to start might be the people who willingly pay a monthly subscription to waste their free time scraping up imaginary Murloc bellends.
Now, I saw the parallels. Did you see the parallels? This happened years ago. People's psychology has not changed since then. And yes, I'm one of the generation that made that World of Warcraft what it actually turned into, which was World of Warcraft. I apologize for what we did with it. But it taught us a whole bunch about our psychology. It taught us a whole bunch about the way that we actually act as human beings. And as much as they wanted to go out and look at this data and go, maybe that was a good idea, it wasn't. There is no way that we're ever going to learn from our mistakes unless we actually look at the past and learn from the past. It doesn't matter whether we're in real life or we're in a reality thing. Everything that is happening right now has already been predicted. Everything that has happened right now has already been pre-packaged and ready for us to absorb for the last 70 years. And why do I keep bringing this up? Why is this something that I keep talking about? Because so many people out there keep denying it. No, this has never happened again. I could bring in any number of games that are up here and do my own review on them, play many different games. I'm a gamer, it's what I do in my spare time. Give you any number of different games or possible alternate futures that are happening right now. One of the other ones that are out there that I've recently played is called Outer Worlds. Outer Worlds is about a corrupt global elite economic giant that goes out, colonizes space, puts up all of their stuff, and then slowly destroys the world by chewing up all the resources. Sound a little familiar? It's there. It's in our face. We just haven't seen it. We don't see it. We choose not to, because if we see it, then we accept that there is a problem. We accept that there is a problem that we need to fix. And those of us that do see it are getting called absolutely out of our mind, bat crazy, and dangerous society, because we choose to see, we choose to understand, to process, to digest, to go and do our own research, to go and look at everything that is happening, and come back and make our own judgments. But we're all crazy and a danger to society. It's not. We choose to see beyond the narrative that is put out there. We choose to see what is really going on. We don't just absorb everything that is going prepackaged in movies and music and video games and TV and social media that comes into us every day, all day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Everyone likes to be distracted. Everyone doesn't want to think about the possible ends of this world, all the things that are happening right now, because it is hard to comprehend. Why would those in power, the corporate elite, choose to do this to us? Why would they do that? They're there to look out for us. They're there to give us entertainment and to give us food and to help us live and to be and to... No, they're not. The bottom line is all about the dollar. How much money can they make off human living and suffering? It's out there. It's in everything that we see and do and know and have. But we don't want to see it, because it's all pre-packaged and ready for us to absorb. Even every possibility of the end of the world, from nuclear fallout to asteroids coming to get us to the aliens that could potentially invade, it is all out there. You just have to be willing to see it. You just have to actually want to see and understand that you're being played. And that they are lying to us to keep us placated, to keep us quiet, to keep us calm. So that if and when the world does come to an end, we don't all freak out and a breakdown of social order happens overnight. And, in a way, that is a little bit of a thing, a little bit of a blessing. They want to keep us calm. They want to keep us organized. But at the same time, it's going to happen one way or another. And it's going to happen. All right? So that is it from the Chaos Mind. I had to share that video. It kept popped up on my feed, and it had been ages since I actually looked at him. And I'm like, oh my god, he's right. It has been in our faces, and I went and did a whole bunch of research. I'll put the links in the comments if you need to, or in the description, to all of the different researchers and the studies that were actually done on that event back in 2005, back in World of Warcraft. Right? I can show you the research that they did. Oh no, this couldn't possibly be true. Yeah, it is. People actually act like this. And if you look at any of the videos, any of the stories that have come down social media about people breaking quarantine, about them going into shopping centers and deliberately coughing or sneezing or spitting or any of that on other people because they might infect somebody, this is human behavior. It doesn't change. It hasn't changed in years, in decades. But we still think that it is. Anyway, you all have a wonderful day. I will see you all again. Actually, I won't see you tomorrow. It's the weekend. I will see you on Monday with another Chaos Mind. Until then, take care, guys, and go do your own research.